Hey, so I'm feeling a lot better after getting my wisdom teeth pulled, and I had a pretty nice match with Lead Husky, so I figured I'd upload this one. Um, Aerodactyl versus Frostlass, when I have Frostlass, is just pretty much just a bad matchup in every way, shape, and form for me. At this point, I'm just going to assume the taunt. I'm going to Ice Beam, and hope that the result ends up being me being taunted with full health, my focus sash intact, him having set up stealth rocks, and him dead. That's really the best that I can hope for in a matchup like this without outright switching, which I would have done, but I realized I got nothing real good just to switch to. And I actually managed to take him out because he's got not sash, and we were talking to each other, and I was like, would that be Sky Attack Aerodactyl? And he was like, yes, it is. And I was like, that's pretty cool because he came up with that a while ago himself. And I don't know, glad to see that other people think like me, I guess. Here I just make this was just stupid. I was assuming Tyranitar was Scarfed and was going to try and pursue me, so I Destiny Bonded, but then I was like, after I did it, I was like, he's going to be faster than me anyway. And I just give him a free sub for Boa instead of using Spikes, which is just beyond stupid. But Poliwrath's going to make up for my mistakes. He's going to resist the dark, the ice, the fire, the whatever it is that Boa is going to throw except Focus Punch. Force him to use Substitute, so now I got a choice. I can bulk up, or I can opt for Brick Break to Waterfall, or Waterfall to hit the inevitable switch. And here I opted for Waterfall because I thought the Brick Break was really obvious, so I was anticipating something that was going to resist exclusively the fighting. Instead, I get something that resists exclusively water, and I was like, oh, shit. Because Brick Break, or any real form of neutral attack from a Poliwrath, is going to really dent Breloom. Probably would have taken about 50% of his health, so I'm kicking myself for this. Knowing the Spore's oncoming, like it always is, it's Breloom. I opt to switch in Volvagia, the boss of the Fire Temple, who's actually a water type. Don't quote me on that. So I take the sleep, which is good, and he's intimidated, which is cool, and I resist his Focus Punch, which is cool. And as you can probably tell from the HP, this is a Rest Talk Roar Gyarados, which is cool. So I opt for the Rest Talk because or the Sleep Talk, because that's what I do. And he's got Stone Edge. And I'm like, oh shit, he's probably one of those variants without Substitute. He's probably got Stone Edge, Seed Bomb, and Focus Punch. Thankfully, I get the Roar, and that was great. But then I realized that's worthless because A, I Roar in Vaporeon, the worst possible thing that I could see against a Gyarados, and B, I've got no spikes, which just makes me kick myself even more for not doing that with Frostlass. That was just... oh, that was so dumb. Now, I'm thinking he's either going to HP Electric or Wish. I actually take a pretty big risk. He could have Ice Beamed right there if he had it, because it'd be the strongest move against Gyarados if he had that in Surf, and I switch him from Sceptile. I know I've seen Loom, but I've also seen Tyranitar and this, and from what I can tell, I'm going to Leaf Storm. If he protects, that's fine. Even if he switches in something like that resists it, like Breloom will die from this if it tries to switch in. And Leaf Storm from the Sceptile Life Orb just basically hurts anything that wants to. So he leaves the Vaporeon, and he was hoping I would anticipate a different switch in and use a different move or something. So that's just great. I get that Vaporeon out of the way, and it just completely nullifies the Wish. And in comes my greatest nemesis, Rotom. I don't care if he wants to Trick, if he wants to Will-O-Wisp, if he wants to Shadow Ball, or if he wants to Thunderbolt, or even if... no, actually, I'd care if he wanted to Hydro Pump, but I knew he wouldn't do that. I'm switching in Probopass because that is far and away the best thing that I can do to send in Rotom. And I get a Scarf, and I'm like, ah, crap, but I don't really care. I thought about Thunder Wave, and I was like, no, absolutely not. I screwed up Spikes. I want Stealth Rock now. I haven't seen his last. It might be a ground type, which it is. I'm not going to Thunder Wave. That would just be stupid. So I get my rocks up as Nidoking comes in. I didn't want to take fighting or I didn't even know what kind of Nidoking it was, obviously. I figured it was probably... I didn't know if it was going to be mixed or just all physical. It turns out to be all physical. So either way, Gyarados dodges the Earthquake and gets an Intimidate, which is great. So I can take one of the Stone Edges. I opt to go for the Sleep Talk. I was hoping I'd stay asleep for more than one turn. Unfortunately, as you can see, I don't. And at this point, Gyarados, I didn't really see much point in switching him out. I mean, Poliwrath could take a Stone Edge, but I'd be risking, it'd just be a free switch in for his Rotom again to come and kill Poliwrath, and I'd be in the same mess again with Probopass, who would now face a Hydro Pump. So Now, pretty much at this point, he's got Rotom, Nidoking, Breloom, and Tyranitar. I'm just trying to pave the way for a Sceptile sweep, which just includes getting rid of that Nidoking because he's probably got Sucker Punch because it looks like he's Physical Life Orb. So he dodges the Will-O-Wisp with a Poison Breloom, but that I didn't really care about that too much, honestly. Obviously, I considered he'd switch that in, but Weezing is still Weezing and Breloom is still Breloom until I realized that I've lost my Sleep Fodder in Gyarados. So I quickly go back to the Probopass to take the oncoming Sleep, and I'm just going to go right back into Weezing against Breloom because leaving Probopass in on Breloom would be probably the dumbest thing I could do. Here's a small segment of Weezing being Weezing and Breloom being its mushroomy self. From the looks of it, he's probably got Stone Edge, and I think he has Focus Punch. This is probably his biggest misplay of the match. He could have Focus Punched me for 100% accurate and slightly more powerful than Stone Edge, but I don't know, he didn't think about it through all the way, so he just lost a little bit of power in Stone Edge. He kept doing it. The predicted Will-O-Wisp when he stayed in and sub didn't really make much of a difference to me because I thought about it, and Breloom is still Breloom, and Weezing is still Weezing. So even if he gets that sub, he's not really accomplishing much. Now I'm just going to stay in and Flamethrower, because I was thinking even if he wants to switch in Rotom, which is probably the only thing he would switch into Weezing in fear of a Will-O-Wisp, it's not a defensive Rotom, so Flamethrower is probably going to do more anyway. And this time he does bring it in, so he is pretty well outplaying me right now, but because I've got Sceptile, and he's pretty weak to it with what he's got left. Most of OU is actually pretty weak to Sceptile. That's why I decided to put him on this team, see how it worked. I want to get this Rotom as weak as I can. I'm hoping that Weezing can take one hit from an offensive Rotom, and it can. I could Pain Split here, but again, he doesn't have much HP investment, and Rotom doesn't have a whole lot of HP anyway, so I wouldn't be doing much, if any, more damage to him than I would with a Flamethrower. So yeah, and now he's in the range where I looked at it. Sceptile can now kill him with the Dragon Pulse, so I'm just waiting to switch that in. I don't want to Leaf Storm, because if I Leaf Storm and he switches in like Breloom, or he just stays in and dies, I'll be at -2, and I won't be able to one-hit KO that Tyranitar. And if I lose Sceptile, I lose the game. That's all there is to it. I need it to take down the rest. It can kill the rest of his team, but without it, I lose to the rest of it. I lose to anything like on his team. He brings in the Nidoking at the risk of a Leaf Storm, because his Nidoking's the only real counter he's got to this thing. If he has Sucker Punch, of course. I was assuming it did because he's got Life Orb and he's physical. So I go out to Poliwrath with the only thing I've got left that can take down Nidoking, hoping he stays in. He can't switch outright into anything else, actually, because his Rotom will die to Stealth Rock, Sandstorm, my Waterfall. His Breloom can't take me one-on-one because I've got something asleep and he doesn't have Seed Bomb. And his Tyranitar against Poliwrath, I don't have to explain that. So he has to let this thing stay in and die. I've pretty much got his Nidoking in checkmate, which is funny because his name is But Me Queen, and he's a king. Get it? I've got his king in checkmate. I kind of ruined that joke. Never mind. He's definitely going to send in Rotom right now. I could switch out to Sceptile, predicting the Thunderbolt, but I need Sceptiles at full health to take Sandstorm and Life Orb damage. I didn't want to try and bulk up against his Nidoking, which I could do, because then again, Rotom would just stroke me with a Thunderbolt anyway. And like I said, the thing I've been trying to do the whole time, now is the great time for Sceptile to come in. Just Dragon Pulse this thing, Leaf Storm Tyranitar, and then hopefully HP Fire the Breloom. So, I guess right now, Sceptile's just pretty much doing his job. Look how badass Sceptile looks. I just gotta say, with that like little blade coming off his hand, like right here from the back view, he looks like the guy from Assassin's Creed. I just thought that was really cool. I'm gonna make another one, and he's gonna be called Altair. So any of you take that nickname. Against Tyranitar, I Leaf Storm like my plan was. I was actually considering, my smart side was saying, Hidden Power Fire. He's baiting you to do Leaf Storm so we can go into Breloom and his Tyranitar can survive. But my more stubborn side was like, I'm tired of being outplayed. He's been outplaying me for the last 10 turns of this game. I'm going to Leaf Storm. Screw you. However, then I calculated it. I was like, wait a minute. After a Leaf Storm, if I'd hit that Breloom on the way in, I would have been knocked down into Overgrown range after the Sandstorm. So even with -2, I ran a calculation. or I didn't run a calculation, but I knew that I'd be doing over 120% without the drop. But then with the drop and in overgrow range, I'd probably still be able to KO the Tyranitar, even after a -2. But regardless, that chain of misses and me eventually hitting power firing, knowing he wasn't going to switch out, stays in. The Tyranitar comes in. My last chance is for this Leaf Storm to hit, and it does. Otherwise, I would have been left with a Sleeping Probopass. So that finishes him off. That ends the game. Good game, Husky. Thanks for watching, guys. You stay classy, San Diego.